launched a series of attacks on policy, but also really personal attacks on the Turnbull government and the Turnbull family in terms of living at their own house in Point Piper rather than Kirribilli, and of course a range of other issues.
So we'll look at the politicians and the fat cats, you know. They're supposed to, you know, the public's supposed to take welfare cuts and all this kind of stuff. But then you get the Australia Post head on $5.6 million. You get the Prime Minister throwing a party for coalition MPs, slugging the taxpayers $5,000. Susan Lee, the Minister, having to resign over travel expenses. You've got public servants getting better wage rises than the rest of us, and the Prime Minister refusing to live in Kirribilli House. That's another $3 million a year down the drain in extra security. What do you make of that?
Look, I can understand people's disappointment, and I can understand people saying that there is one rule for us and another rule for them. I can understand that, and that's why, as far as is humanly possible, ministers should carefully scrutinise the amounts that are being paid to the heads of government business enterprises. We should be, I think, a little bit worried when you've got senior public servants being paid almost twice what the Prime Minister gets. I think it is a pity that we've now got something like 100 ministerial senior advisors as opposed to just 60 2 years ago. So there does appear to be inflation of the public sector going on here, and I think you've got to practice what you preach.
Well, should the Prime Minister move into Kirribilli and save us $3 million a year?
Well, that's a very good question, Andrew, and I can certainly understand the Prime Minister not wanting to be a burden on the taxpayer by living in his own home. I certainly was interested in avoiding being a burden on the taxpayer and living in my own home, and the advice I got back in early 2014 was that if I stayed at Forestville, at suburban Forestville, it would cost an extra $1 million a year in security, and so I thought then I was really obliged to live in the house that the taxpayer provides for the Prime Minister. I think it would be a better look if the Prime Minister did live in Kirribilli House. I think it would be better for him. I think it would be better for the government. But in the end, this is a question for him. But yes, by trying to avoid being a burden on the taxpayer, it seems that you end up just costing the taxpayer even more.